The Hindu, 14th February 2023. First, the headlines. Top court upholds Constitution of Jammu and Kashmir Delimitation Panel. Second, ICHR rewriting history, only filling gaps. Third, retail inflation rise to 6.252% in January, a 3-month high. Fourth, Geoscience community calls for a broad panel to experts to power heritage bill. Mayoral poll nominated members cannot vote, says Supreme Court elections after February 16. Editorial. Honor of office. Second, House rules and the weapon of execution. 3. Hills of or city urban planning cannot be an afterthought. 4. Not a pipe dream. Option. Constitution oath is not a mere formality. 4. Private institutions helped burn learning loss in many states. Dollar devalued by 10%, yen to float. 10 page. Taking postpartum depression. Saudi Arab to send its first women space aeronauts. Let's start. Top court upholds Constitution of Jammu and Kashmir Delimitation Panel. The Supreme Court on Monday dismissed a challenge to the Constitution of Jammu and Kashmir Delimitation Commission to readjust Constitution in the new Union Territory. Article 2 and 3 of the Constitution enable the Parliament to create new states and opinion territories. Accordingly, the two new Union territories have been created. The Jammu and Kashmir Organization Act, which created the two new Union territories, assigned the role of a readjustment of constituencies to Delimitation Commission under the Delimitation Act 2002. A law made under Article 3 can always provide for a readjustment of the constituencies in the newly constituted states or union territories through the delimitation commission. Hence, we hold that there is no illegality associated with the establishment of a delimitation commission under of March 16, 2020. A bench of Justice Sanjay Kishan Kaul and A.S. Oka held the petition was filed by Srinagar residents Hiji Abdul Ghani Khan and Dr. Muhammad Ayub Matto. Next, ICHR not rewriting history, only filling gaps. Indian Council Historical Research ICHR, Indian Council of Historical Research, has no plan of rewriting history but is filling gap by incorporating all major personalities and events which are not part of history books, Union Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan said on Monday. ICHR has not launched any project to rewrite Indian history. The government has no intention to rewrite history, but if you ask me if the ICHR has taken any project on history with due respect, I would like to inform this house that yes, it has taken, Mr. Pradhan told the Lok Sabha during question hour, expanding history. We are expanding history and filling gaps by incorporating major historical events, personalities, and incidents, he says. Next is here it is. All aldermen cannot vote Supreme Court mayoral poll not be on February 16. The Supreme Court on Monday said nominated members, aldermen of the MCD, that is municipalities corporation of Delhi, cannot vote in the mayoral poll. The election would now will not be held as scheduled on February 16 as the Supreme Court has posted the matter for hearing on Friday. Fad, Fadnavis power spare over 19 government formulation. Over 3 years after he joined hands of NCP leader Ajit Pawar to stage a coup and form the government in Maharashtra, BJP leader and Deputy CM Devendra Fadnavis on Monday said the move had the support of NCP chief Sharad Pawar. Smriti still the show of a WPL auction. Shruti Mandhana, Royal Challengers Bangalore 3.4 crore. Dipti Sharma, UP Warriors 2.6 crore. Jemina Rodriguez 2.2 crore. Safali Burma 2 crore. Bath Muni 2 crore. Richa Ghosh 1.9 crore. Pooja Bhastrakar 1.9 crore. Sophie Eccleston 1.8 crore. Harpreet Kaur 1.8 crore. Geoscience community calls for a broad panel of experts to power heritage bill. A draft bill aimed to project protected India geography heritage that include fossils, sedimentary rocks, natural structures has raised arm in India geoscience and paleontology community. The draft Geo-Heritage Sites and Geo-Relics Preservation and Maintenance Bill 2022, while deemed necessary necessary by several researchers, wastes powers entirely in the Geographical Survey of India, a 170-old organization that comes under the Ministry of Mines. Provision of a bill gives the power to declare state sites as having geo-heritage values. Tech position of relics, fossil rocks that rest in private hands, prohibit construction 100 meter around such site penalties with fines up to 5 lakh, possibly imprisonment, vandalism, defacement, and violation of directives of the site by the Director General. We welcome a geo-heritage bill, however, rather than have all authority in the Director General GSI. There need to be a broader committee of experts from a wider range of institutions. This would mean that the interest and the difficulty faced by the researchers who actually work in the field. We kept in mind G.A.V. Prasad, paleontologist and head of Delhi University Geology Department, told the Hindu. Now the editorial. Honors of office. Honors of the office. Those required to shun partisan politics must not be made governors. A former judge of the Supreme Court of India and a former Indian Army commander are among the new governor of state appointed by the center on Sunday. The governor of several states and the lieutenant governor of a union territory were also shuffled. In recent years, governors have started to play a political role in states such as Jharkhand, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, and West Bengal, creating a train of controversies for good reasons. The role of the military and the judiciary too are topics of interest, particularly with regard to their relationship with the political executive. The executive government's eagerness to control judicial appointment besides the debate on the collegium system of judges. Appointing judges is evident. It has selectively delayed and accelerated appointment recommended by the collegium, effectively exercising powers that it does not have in appoint judges. The Bharatiya Janata Party BJP has also faced charges of using the armed forces to further its political narratives, either earlier to retired police and intelligence officer went on top occupies Raj Bhavan, but it was the appointment of a retired Chief Justice of India as governor in 2014 that created a new precedent. Uh, Another retired justice, CJI, was nominated to the Rajya Sabha in 2020, raising eyebrows. The institution of the governor is a legacy of the British imperialism governance structure. The legitimacy of a nominated governor in a democracy was the topic of a heated debate in the Constitution Assembly. But it was carried on into the new republic nevertheless. The governor was to act as a dynamic link between the center and the state, but the makers of the constitution were clear that the post must remain oriental, except in very narrowly uh, defined situation in which they were allowed discretion in decision making over the decade. The overarch of governors has become a serious question in center state relations and democracy in general. The dominance of BJP at the center since 2014 has added fresh tension with the states. The BJP has a vision of national unity that causes anxiety among regional interest groups. The office of the governor was to be embellished by the personality of those who would occupy it, opening it as a post-retirement possibilities for those who are required to stay afloat from partisan politics in their current roles, lowers the dignity of the offices that they leave behind and what they go on to occupy. House rules and the weapons of expulsion. The expulsion of portion of the speeches made by some opposition politicians in parliament recently is an issue that has sparked of a debate on an action taken by the speaker in speech of Congress leader Rahul Gandhi and the chairman of Rajya Sabha in the case of a speech made by Congress president and leader of opposition in Rajya Sabha Mallikarjun Kharge. Mr. Gandhi and Mr. Kharge were both speaking on the motion of thanks to the President of India for her address to members of a parliament of both houses. This is customary practice, although the constitution does not provide for any such motion, except direct that each house shall discuss the matter contained in the address. This is practice adopted from the British Parliament. When such a motion is discussed, MPs are generally permitted to speak on anything under the sun. It is an occasion to point out lapses on government part of discussion. The government of issue that concern the governance of the country speeches are generally political and the chair never insists in relevance since the council of ministers is collectively responsible to parliament. MP had right the critical scrutinize the performance rules that are in place. Article 105 of the constitution confers on the members freedom of speech in the house and community from the interference by the court for anything said in the house. Thus, freedom of speech in the house is the most important privilege of a member of a parliament which is subject only to the other provision of the constitution relating to the running of house and the house rules rule a 380 of the rules of procedure of the Lok Sabha and rules 261 of the rules of Rajya Sabha gives the power to the presiding officer of those house to expunge any words used in the debate which are defamatory, unparliamentary, undignified, or indecent. Once expunged, they do not remain on record, and if anyone publishes them thereafter, they will be liable for the breach of privilege of the House. There are therefore occasions when MP may, during this speech, makes an allegation against a fellow MPs or an outsider. Rule 353 of Lok Sabha regulate the procedure in that regard. Under this rule, MP is required to give adequate advance notice to the Speaker as well as Minister concerned. It may be noted here that the rule does not prohibit the making of any allegation. The only requirement is advice, allegation, and Speaker's ruling. How a member of a parliament needs to follow a certain procedure while making an allegation against a minister, such as procedure has been laid down by speakers in past. Making an allegation against minister or the prime minister is considered to be a serious matter. Therefore, the presiding officers have carefully laid down a stipulation that the MP who makes an imputation against a minister of a government should be sure about the functional basis of allegation. On September 2, 1965, when Prakash Veer Shastri MP made personal allegation against Humayun Kabir, the then Minister of Education, the minister refuted the allegation, but MP reiterated his allegation and referred to press reports. In his ruling, the Speaker Sardar Hukum Singh is said, I wish to inform all the honorable members with great respect that a mere report in newspaper about anything does not give you the privilege to raise it in the house. I know that normal the source of information available to the members is newspaper, but that is not a sufficient basis for the member to make allegation against a minister, member or other dignitaries. It is necessary to prove it further and satisfy oneself about it. Even if the allegation is proved wrong, it will after all affect the reputation of the person. On December 21st, 1981, the Lok Sabha Bapu Saheb Parulekar MP made a reference to an allegation published in Sunday Weekly against the Railway Minister Kedar Pandey and his family member in connection with permanent railway card passes. The Deputy Speaker G. Lakshman, who was in chair, gave the following ruling The member should, before making an allegation in the House, satisfy himself after making inquiry that there is a basis for allegation. The members should be prepared to accept the responsibility for the allegation, and the members should be prepared to substantiate the allegation. Issue of defamation. However, a careful reading of rules of the House would reveal that the acts of expulsion can be wielded only when the allegation mentioned therein, that the acts of expulsion can be wielded only when the allegations mentioned therein after the defamatory in incriminatory character. Under Section 499 of the Indian Penal Code, second exception, any statement respecting the conduct of public servant in the discharge of his public function or his character, so far as his character appear in that conduct, is not a defamation. If such a statement is made in the House against minister who is public servant, it does not come within the mischief of Rule 353 or Rule 380. Therefore, it does not afford an occasion for the presiding officers to expunge words in or a portion of a speech on the ground that they are defamatory. It is thus clear that therefore the weapon of expunction is wielded. It needs to be ascertained whether the speech contained defamatory or incriminatory statements or only critical comment which a member of parliament has the right to make. It also needs to be ensured that the freedom of speech enjoyed by the member in the house is not needlessly curtailed. This is written by Firoz Barun Gandhi. Hill or city urban planning cannot be afterthought. In 24 December 2009, a tunnel boring machine in Joshimath, Uttarakhand hit an aquifer but about 3 kilometers from Salen's village. This resulted in loss of nearly 800 liters of water per second, enough to sustain the needs of rule 30 lakh people per day. Soon after, groundwater sources began dry up even as the water flow reduced but nearly stopped. Meanwhile, Joshimath has not system to manage wastewater. Indeed, the large-scale use of the soak pit mechanism could ex- exacerbate land sinking. Ongoing infrastructure projects, the Tapovan Vishnugad Dam and the Helang Marwari bypass road may also worsen the situation. Problem in hilly urban India. Land subsidence incidents in hilly urban India are becoming increasingly common. An estimate 12.6 of India land area is prone to landslide, especially in Sikkim, West Bengal, and Uttarakhand. Urban policy is making those worse according to National Institution of Disaster Management and highlight in a national landslide risk management strategy. September 2019. Construction in such a landscape is often driving by building by law that ignore local geographical and environmental factors. Consequently, land use planning in India, Himalayan town and the Western Ghat is often illy conceived, adding to slope instability. As a result, landslide vulnerability has risen, made worsen by tunneling construction that is weakening rock formation. Acquiring credible data is a first step towards enhancing urban resilience with regard to land sufficiency. The overall landslide risk needs to be mapped at a granular level. The Geographical Survey of India has conducted a national mapping exercise 1 is to 50,000 scale with each centimeter denoting approximate 0.5 kilometer. Urban policymakers need to take this further with additional details and localization. 1 is to 1000 scale area with high landslide risk should not be allowed to expand large infrastructure. There must be a push to reduce human intervention. From Josimath to Panjim, India flood urban journey is a case of not having generational process in place. The adherence to carry capacity Aizawl Mizoram is a seismic zone V built on a very steep slope. A earthquake with magnitude greater than 7 on the Richter scale would easily trigger over 1000 landslide and cause large scale damage to building, but the city has developed a landslide action plan with a push to reach 1 is to 500 scale with update regulation to guide construction activities in hazardous zones. The city landslide policy committee is cross-disciplinary in nature, seeking inputs from civic society and university students with push to continually update risk zones. Further, any site developed hazardous zone needs assessment by the geologist with respect to soil sustainability, slope stability, and an evaluation of its potential impact on buildings that are nearby. It may need corrective measure with step to prohibit construction in hazardous area. The Gangtok, Sikkim, and Amrita Biswa Vidyapitham has helped set up a real-time landslide monitoring and early warning system with sensors assessing the impact of rainfall, infiltration, water movement, and slope instability. Risk, uh, risk, rising flood risk. Flood risk is the second issue. In August 2019, Palava city, phase 1 and 2 in Dumbivali, Dumbivali, Dombivli, Maharashtra experienced heavy flooding, leaving residents stranded. Seasonal rain is now increasing in intensity, and season for the flooding soon become evident. The township, spread over 4,500 acres, was built on the floodplains of the Motholi River. When planned, townships are approved with a distinct lack of concern for natural hazards. Such incidents are bound to occur. There are more examples. Floods in Panjim, Goa in July 2021 lead to local river swelling and homes being flooded. Began urban settlement along the Mandovi affect. Again, urban planning was the issue. City built on marshlands was once home to mangroves and fertile fields, which helped bolster its flood resilience. Delhi is estimated 9,350 households live in Jamuna floodplains, while in the Union Intergovernmental Panel Climate Change Report on March 22, 2022 has highlighted the risk Kolkata faces due to rise in sea levels. The combination of poor urban planning and climate change will mean that many of India's cities could face devastating flooding. Post food proofing India's cities will require multiple measures. Urban planners will have to step back from filling up water bodies, canals, and drains and focus instead on enhancing sewage and stormwater drain need works. Existing sewage networks need to be reworked and expanded to enable watershed water wastewater drainage in low-lying urban geographies. Rivers that overflow need to be desilted regular along with a push of our coastal wall in area of risk from sea rise, greater spending on flood resilient architecture, river embankments, flood shelters in coastal area and a flood warning system is necessary. Protecting blueprint areas, places allowing groundwater to be recharged in most as rainfall pattern and intensity change, urban authorities will need to invest in simulating capacity to determine flooding hotspots and flood. Looking ahead, urban India does not have to embrace such risk. Instead, cities need to incorporate environmental planning and enhance natural open spaces. Urban master plan needs to consider the impact of climate change and extreme weather. Bangalore needs to think 150 mm per hour peak rainfall in the future against the current 75 mm. Urban authorities in India should access the update disaster risk and preparedness planning early. Warning system will also be critical. Finally, each city needs to have a disaster management framework in place with large air arterial road that allow people and goods to move freely. India urban journey is not delimited to an election cycle. It must plan for a multi-generalization process. Then opinion page. Constitutional oath is not a mere formality. Constitution is the basis law that lays the foundation for the governance of a country. It lays down broad policy directives for the authority and institution asked with its implementation. Basic eligibility criteria for appointment to several high constitutional offices are prescribed in the constitution. Yet many resilient disqualifications operate. These are implied and read into the eligibility criteria by court solely guided by the objective of upholding the constitution and the law and the integrity of the institution for which the functionary is chosen. Importing a disqualification. Importing a disqualification. In B.R. Kapoor versus State of Tamil Nadu 2001, the governor appointed Jayalalitha as chief minister despite her conviction for a criminal offence was called in question. Article 164(1) of the Constitution does not prescribe any disqualification for the appointment of a chief minister. Article 173, however, disqualified a person with a prior conviction from being a member of a legislature. The court was confronted with the question of whether it could impose a disqualification for a person being appointed as chief minister when none was prescribed. The Supreme Court said yes, it held the will of a people as expressed through the majority. Majority party prevails only if it is in accord with the constitution. The governor is sworn to preserve, protect, and defend the constitution of law. Article 59. The court cannot do anything in that is contrary to the constitution and the law. The governor's act of administering oath to Jayalalitha after her conviction was declared unconstitutional. The oath to be taken by the judge of High Court under Schedule 3 of the Constitution require a declaration of allegation to the Constitution and a performance of the to limit eligibility for appointment of a High Court judge to the minimum makes a mockery of the integrity and independence of the judiciary. Duties without fear or favor, affection or ill will. The appointed must also declare that she will uphold the Constitution and the law. Such an oath is unique to the judge of High Court and the Supreme Court, since they are the sentinel of the Constitution. The oath is solemn assurance to the people that justice will be rendered without any bias. Does not people who has shown religiously bigotry become disabled from discharging the oath of office of a judge with such disabilities fall within the realm of a mere sustainable or essential eligibility adhering to the oath. Adhering to the oath, eligibility of a judge of a high court should not be constructed in a pedantic manner, declared Supreme Court in N. Kannada San versus Ajay Ghosh 2009. In additional judge of High Court who was not appointed as permanent judge due to allegation of lack of probability probity was later recommended by the then Chief Justice of the Madras High Court for appointment of as President of the State Consumer Commission. The appointment was declared illegal by the Supreme Court, which held that the dependent and impartial judiciary should be manned by persons who dispense justice without fear or favor, ill will or affection. It held that a person who lacked the qualities necessary to adhere to oath of office of a judge was ineligible for appointment to any judiciary office. Thus, the capacity to dispense judge in term of a constitutional oath was held to be non-negotiable. Ineligibility to adhere to the constitution as per oath prescribed has been held to be a disqualification by a full bench of Madras High Court in the case S.K. Haja Sharif 1983, who after taking oath as member of the assembly to bear truth, faith and allegiance to the Constitution, accepted appointment of honorary consul general of Turkey Madras at Madras. On such appointment, abide by the directive of a foreign state. The court had held that such a person cannot be expected to be member of legislature, since a conflict interest between two countries would rise, and the constitutional oath will prevail to unseat him. Selection of judges to limit eligibility for appointment of a High Court judge to a minimum of 10 years legal practice prescribed in Article 217 to make a mockery of the integrity and independence of the judiciary, such as Facial Reid turns the solemn assurance of the impartial and fair judiciary into hollow premise. Just a breach of the oath is resulted in removal. Adherence to the Constitution should precede taking the oath office. Faced with opacity in judicial appointment transfer, the Supreme Court in S.P. Gupta versus Union of India 1981 directed the government and the Chief Justice of India to disclose all the material. The judge held that their constitutional duty demanded such scrutiny through judicial review. They also held that if no scrutiny it was founded that all the material were not before the CJI now collegium, the consultation selection process is defective and invalid. The events leading up to the pronouncement of Supreme Court regarding the selection of Justice Victoria Goari reveal the fault lines between the government and the judiciary. The selection process came under a could once CJI address open court that material now brought before the collegium were not available earlier. The collegium relies on the government agencies to produce under background material of persons recommended to be judges. Transparency and accountability in the selection of judges alone will ensure an independent judiciary. The preamble to the Constitution should permeate selection of every judge. Dream that could upset BRS apple cart. News in number: most universities still functioning without NAAC accreditation. The number of universities across India operating without accreditation for the National Assessment and Accreditation Council. National Assessment and Accreditation Council. Parliament was informed. Data given by the Union Minister of State for Education Subhash Sarkar also added that education that 34,734 colleges were also operating without NAAC accreditation. Power Finance Corporation sees rise in profit. Project approved MOHUA under Amrut 2.0 scheme. 6,527 the number of projects under the Atal Mission for Rejuvenation and Urban Transformation Amrut. Atal Mission for Rejuvenation and Urban Transformation 2.0 that was approved by the Ministry of Housing and the Urban Affairs. Minister of State Kaushal Kishore said. The minister added that 45,482 crore has been approved for the project under the scheme. Faculty positions in government HEIS remains vacant. Australia government funding for indigenous communities. Tackling postpartum depression. Postpartum depression. Tackling postpartum depression. What constitute postpartum depression? There particular factors that make women susceptible to the condition. They do symptoms vary much between the clinical depression. What are different methods of treatment? How effective in is electroconvulsive therapy? The link between childbirth and the mental disorder have been described for hundreds of years. Mental illness after childbirth is not merely of historical interest, as illustrated by the finding of the UK confidential inquiry into maternal death. Suicide is leading cause of maternal death following childbirth. In India itself, the prevalence of postpartum depression was about 22% in 2017. If a person develops psychotic depression or if the depression is severe, there is a high risk of dying or by suicide. In such situations, healthcare workers advise more aggressive intervention. Traditional classification systems do not include separate categories for episode of mental illness that occur in the prenatal period, leading to confusion in clinical practice as well as in research. The ubiquitous use of the term postpartum depression also erroneously refers to all forms of psychological depression following pregnancy, from mild mood changes to more severe psychotic condition. Postpartum depression is a significant form of depression that can begin after childbirth with symptoms that vary from person to person. Has important difference from baby blues. The clinical practice has this period can last anywhere between 4 to 6 weeks from delivery from but sometimes even up to year. Women can be affected by a range of mental health problems in pregnancy and postpartum period, including depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, psychosis, and personality and eating disorder. Despite this, perinatal psychiatric disorders have not received the attention that they deserve. Postpartum depression is a real medical illness that can affect any mother regardless of age, become of a cultural and of educational background. Women are not to be faulted for having postpartum depression. A, a prior history of a mood or anxiety disorders, stressful life event, poor social support, and domestic violence or establish risk factors for depression in the postpartum period. Additional risk factors including poor social support, adverse life event, domestic violence, a history of a prior psychiatric illness, unplanned or unwanted pregnancy, and present past pregnancy complication. Clinical presentation. The clinical presentation does not very much become depression in the postpartum period and depression that occur at other time. The core symptom of depression include low mood, low pleasure or inactivity, and easily fatiguability. However, fatigue loss, libido appalled, and weight change, the sleep disturbances are more common in postpartum period. Throughout the self harm are also common in postpartum depression. Women who went with psychiatric symptom in the postpartum period are high risk being diagnosed with severe mental illness called bipolar disorder. In a 2012 Danish study, more 14% of women with first-time psychiatric symptoms within a month of childbirth were later diagnosed with bipolar disorder in follow-up time frame of 15 years. Another study published in 2010 found that more than half of the participants with bipolar disorder with postpartum onset were initially misdiagnosed with unipolar depression. So it is prudent to keep an eye out for underlying bipolar diathesis in women presenting with postpartum depression. Screening and solutions. It is vital to sensitize obstetricians to screen women for postpartum depression. Awareness about this entity is abysmally low, contributing to its morbidity, loss of productivity, and in some cases loss of life. The only question were recommended in UK to screen women for postpartum depression. Globally, the Edinburgh postnatal depression scale, a self-report measure, is also used to assess postpartum depression. The condition lasts between 3 6 months. It is essential that healthcare professionals pay attention to women's mental health in addition to her physical well-being. The affection respond to the same treatment as depression at other time. Psychological intervention have been shown to be effective in for mild postpartum depression in a clinical trial, given that many people do not wish to make medicine while breastfeeding. Peer support, counseling, cognitive behavioral therapy, and interpersonal therapy become important intervention. CBT is a taking therapy that helps people by changing the way they think and behave. It is based on premise that thought, feelings, physical sensations, and action are interconnected, and that a negative thought of a feeling can trap us in the vicious cycle. CBT attempt to recon, recon, re, rest, restructure faulty pattern of thinking that more positive and logical ones. Interventions are also directed at the mother baby died especially if there has been no response of a treatment among those with moderate to severe depression. Medication will be required. The use of safe, effective, evidence-based medication and depression of a pregnancy has increased considerably in recent decades, with rates vary from 3 to 13%. Innovative and novel drug treatments are increasingly available for women with postpartum depression. One such involves 60 hours hormonal infusion, brixanolone, which has shown promise in a early stage trial. Before it can be adopted more widely, the results will need to be replicated in large trial. Decisions regarding medication for breastfeeding women must be made only after risk benefit analyzing interventions such as special diets, exercise, yoga, and use of oestrogens and progestins. Progestins have limited evidences advise which postpartum depression is as of today. Severe depression characterized by suicidal idea or when the person has thoughts of harm, self-harm and harming the baby. Doctors perform electroconclusive therapy here. A small electrical charge is applied to the person's temple while a person is under short anesthesia. This result is a controlled seizure that helps to offset brain changes caused by depression. It is one of the most effective interventions in the history of clinical medicine. Unfortunately, it has become portrayed negatively in film, notably One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. A range of safe, effective, and evidence-based treatment options exist of a psychiatric disorder with onset in the postmortem period. Postpartum depression is a common but serious disorder that is amenable or biopsycho and psychosocial interventions. Right treatment at the right time, in fact, lead to rapid recovery and better quality of life. Stigma, lack of awareness, or misconceptions should not hinder a person from seeking help, particularly in this sensitive time. No part this article should not be constructed a medicine advice. If you have any question, please contact your physicians. Dr. Alok Kulkarni is a senior consultant psychiatric, Manas Institute of Mental Health and Neuroscience, Hubli. Those the distress of having suicide tendencies could seek help and counseling by calling Sanjeevani 01140769002, Delhi, Disha 1056 0471255205 Chennai, Asra 0222754 Mumbai, and Life Foundation the 03332463740123 Kolkata.